She wanted a fake breakup for 7 days, I said, if that's what you want. My girlfriend looked me dead in the eye one night and said, let's pretend we broke up for a week, just to see how it feels. I paused for a second and replied, if that's what you want. On the 3rd day of this little experiment, she posted a picture of herself snuggled up next to some random guy. I didn't text her. Didn't say a word. I just changed the locks and set her things out on the porch. When she showed up later, tears running down her face, she said, it was just a test. I looked her right in the eye and said, good. Looks like I passed. You ever have one of those moments where the bottom drops out and you realize your whole relationship was a damn illusion? That hit me like a freight train last month. Thought I'd share how it all went down. Maybe it'll help someone else catch the warning signs I clearly missed for 2 whole years. Before continuing the story, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss new and interesting stories, and to like and share this video with your friends. It started on a completely normal Tuesday night. I was 30, up late around 2 a.m., living with my girlfriend, Samantha. She was 29. We'd been sharing the apartment for about 8 months at that point. We'd been dating for almost 2 years, and honestly, I thought things were solid between us. I was in the middle of making dinner when she came home from work. She's in marketing. The moment she walked in, I noticed something was off. She was quiet, distracted, kind of lost in her own head. When I asked if everything was okay, she just sat down at the kitchen counter, let out this heavy sigh, and said something that made me freeze mid-chop. I think we should pretend we broke up for a week. I stopped slicing the bell peppers and just stared at her. What? I asked, thinking I must have heard wrong. Not for real, she rushed to add. Just like a short break. Like a little experiment to see how we feel when we're apart. Make sure this is still what we both want. My first instinct? She'd met someone else. This whole thing sounded like a prelude to her easing me out the door. But I didn't say that out loud. Instead, I asked, where's this coming from? She went on about how her friend Haley had done the same thing with her boyfriend, and apparently it brought them closer than ever. Helped them remember why they fell in love in the first place. She pitched it like it was some kind of relationship reboot. Now, I've never been a fan of games. I like things straight up, no mind tricks. But Samantha swore this wasn't a stunt. It was supposed to be a way for us to grow. She'd been going to therapy lately, and I started wondering if maybe her therapist had suggested this. Still, it felt sketchy to me, like one of those Instagram self-help trends with more glitter than substance. We went back and forth for about 20 minutes, but it became clear she wasn't asking me for permission. She was letting me know it was happening. So I just shrugged and said, if that's what you want. Weirdly enough, she seemed kind of let down by how easily I agreed. Maybe she expected me to fight it. Beg her to stay. That's not how I roll. We laid out the rules. For 1 week, we'd act like we weren't a couple. No calls, no texts, unless it had to do with apartment logistics. She'd crash at Haley's place. After 7 days, we'd check in and see where we stood. That night, she packed a bag and left. The apartment felt strange without her. But not in a devastating way, just different. Quieter. Cleaner. I actually slept better than I had in a long time. The next day came and went without much fanfare. I went to work. I'm an architectural engineer, hit the gym after, grabbed a drink with a buddy from the office. Didn't hear from Samantha, but that was part of the deal. What stood out, though, was that I didn't really miss her. That told me something right there. Day 2 played out the same way. Knocked out a few home projects I'd been putting off, had a long chat with my brother, even watched a movie I knew Samantha would have hated. Still no word from her, and I was okay with that. Then came day 3. I don't use Instagram much, but I've got an account. While I was eating lunch, I started scrolling, just to kill time. That's when I saw it. Samantha had posted a picture. She was curled up on a couch with some dude I didn't recognize. His arm was wrapped around her, and her head was resting on his shoulder. The caption read, "Sometimes life surprises you with exactly what you need." I just sat there, staring at the screen, frozen. That couch, that apartment, it wasn't Haley's. I didn't recognize the place at all. The post was timestamped that morning. So much for our so-called reset. Whatever this was, it sure as hell wasn't just a test. That so-called reset button? Yeah, it wasn't. I finished my lunch, tossed my plate in the sink, and made 3 phone calls right after. First up was my landlord, Derek. I laid out the situation and asked what my options were with the apartment since both our names were on the lease. Derek was straight with me. He said I couldn't legally lock her out, no matter what. But if she had actually moved out for good, not just temporarily, we could maybe talk about adjusting the lease. For the moment, though, I'd have to figure out another way to handle it. So I called my lawyer buddy, Ethan, to see where I stood legally. He didn't sugarcoat it. You can't change the locks or toss her stuff out. That's a legal eviction. Even if I was furious, I had to play it straight. His advice? Document everything in case this spiraled into a mess. Third call was to a friend who had a spare room. I asked if I could crash there for a few days while I figured out my next move. Logan didn't hesitate for a second, said yes right away. So I packed a bag with my essentials, then went to our shared storage closet and pulled out Samantha's suitcases. I packed up enough of her clothes and daily stuff to last a couple weeks, left them neatly by the door, and shot her a text. Just saw your Instagram. I've packed some of your things by the door. I'm staying elsewhere for a while. Please come get your stuff. We're done. Then I muted her number and headed over to Logan's place. That night was silent. No calls, no texts. The next morning, Logan and I grabbed breakfast before work, and he helped me start looking for short-term rentals. I wasn't about to keep living with someone who'd pull that stunt, but I wasn't going to break any laws either. Around noon, Samantha finally texted me. WTF. We're on a break, not broken up. Where are you? I didn't reply. Let her stew in the mess she created. After work, Logan came with me to check on the apartment. Samantha wasn't there, but the suitcases I'd packed were gone. I grabbed a few more of my things and left again. The next day, I called Derek again to discuss options. He said the best legal move would be for one of us to officially ask to be removed from the lease and for the other to sign a new one solo. Whoever stayed would have to qualify financially on their own. Since I had a steady job and a spotless payment history, Derek was fine with me taking over the lease alone, if that's what we agreed on. That evening, Samantha finally called. I picked up. Time to end the charade. She said, we were broken up for a week. I stayed calm and said, pretend it wasn't real. It was just a test. A test? She asked. You failed, I told her. Posting a picture cuddling some other guy after only 3 days? That was a fail. She stammered, Caleb is just a friend from work. I cut her off. I don't care if he's the Pope. We're done. She started crying harder. It was just a test to see if you cared enough to fight for us. And there it was, the real reason behind the whole mess. Not some relationship reboot, but a manipulative stunt to force me to prove how much I cared. All the pieces clicked. The strange mind games the past few months, fights that seemed to come out of nowhere, her constant need for reassurance. Well, good news, I said. It was a test, and I passed. I respect myself enough not to stick around for games like this. You can't just break up with me over this, she shot back, trying a different angle. We have a lease together. You can't make me leave. I already talked to Derek, I said. One of us can take over the lease if we both agree and the person staying qualifies financially. Or we can both move out. Your call. But either way, this relationship is over. Samantha looked shocked. I'd already thought this through. So that's it. 2 years, and you're just done because of one mistake. This wasn't a mistake, I said flatly. It was a choice. A way to manipulate me. And when that didn't work, to hurt me. So yeah, I'm done. Eventually, we agreed I'd take over the lease and Samantha would officially move out. Derek drew up the paperwork the next day, and within a week, the apartment was mine alone. It cost me an extra security deposit and some fees, but having a clean break was worth every cent. Over the next few days, Samantha showed up with her friend Haley to pick up the rest of her stuff. I kept my distance, making sure to document everything with photos before and after, just to avoid any disputes. The texts kept coming during that time, sometimes angry, sometimes pleading. I only responded to practical things like when she could get her mail or lease details. After about a week, it seemed like she finally accepted it was really over. Then the social media storm hit. Vague posts about betrayal and men who can't handle strong women started popping up. Mutual friends began calling, wanting to know what happened. I told the truth, plain and simple, no drama added. Most people understood, but a few took her side. I just let those ones go. About 2 weeks after the whole test fiasco, I ran into Caleb, the guy from the Instagram post, at a coffee shop. He recognized me, looked pretty uncomfortable, then came over. Look, man, he said, I had no idea she had a boyfriend. She told me she was single. I believed him. Turns out Samantha had been laying the groundwork with Caleb for weeks before even suggesting the break. He showed me texts from almost a month earlier. Nothing explicit, but definitely some flirting going on. Caleb seemed like a decent guy just caught up in her mess. I thanked him for being upfront and wished him well. It's been about a month now. I'm still living in the apartment, but probably moving out when the lease ends in 2 months. Too many memories. I'm not rushing into dating again. I need time to reset my radar after missing so many red flags with Samantha. Last I heard, Samantha isn't with Caleb anymore either. Mutual friends said he backed off once he learned the full story. Meanwhile, Samantha is telling anyone who'll listen that I'm the villain who threw away a great relationship over a tiny mistake. But here's what I know. Anyone who tests your love by manipulating you doesn't really want a partner. They want a possession, a puppet, or a character in their own drama. Life's too short for that kind of nonsense. So if your partner ever suggests pretending to break up as some kind of test, do yourself a favor and just make it real right then and there. Some tests you pass by walking away. Update 3 months later. Didn't plan on updating, but some things have changed. First, the apartment situation worked out better than expected. After the lease transfer, Derek offered me a chance to move into another unit in the building, a smaller one-bedroom that had just been renovated. Rent was actually a bit cheaper, and it gave me a fresh start without the hassle of hunting for a new place. I moved in last month with a new lease. Samantha's campaign to paint me as the bad guy fizzled out after about 6 weeks. Turns out, she tried the same let's take a break routine with Caleb. After they started dating, Caleb caught on to her manipulation tactics, having been on the receiving end before, and ended things immediately. When he shared his story with our mutual friends, Any sympathy for Samantha's side pretty much disappeared. The most surprising update came from an unexpected place, Samantha's ex, Miles. He reached out through a mutual friend, and we met for a beer. He told me she'd pulled similar stunts throughout their 3-year relationship. The final straw? She tested him by claiming she was flying to visit her sister, but actually checked into a local hotel to see if he'd cheat while she was away. When he didn't, she was actually disappointed. She creates problems just to feel important, Miles explained. If things get stable, she gets bored and manufactures drama. That conversation was oddly freeing for me. It confirmed that the problem wasn't me failing some legitimate test, it was her unhealthy need for emotional chaos. As for me, I've started dating again, nothing serious, just casually putting myself back out there. The whole ordeal gave me sharper instincts for spotting red flags. Oh, and about the lease, once the transfer was done, and I was the sole tenant of the original apartment, moving to the new unit was smooth. Samantha tried arguing she deserved half my security deposit back, but since she broke the lease early by choice, that money went toward the lease break fees. The landlord's office handled it all by the book. Last I saw of Samantha on social media, she's focusing on herself, posting inspirational quotes about knowing your worth and how the right person won't make you question their love. The irony isn't lost on me. Some people have asked if I regret ending things so suddenly instead of trying to work it out. Not even for a second. What Samantha did wasn't a slip-up. It was a calculated test of how much manipulation I would take. Turns out, none. Looks like the lesson stuck with her. For me, consider this chapter closed. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. It just needs a little help getting to the door.